Hi, everyone. Nice to have you here. We are waiting on quite a few people to join, so we are just going to wait a few minutes to let the people get on board and join into the session. They would have got their reminders. So we're just going to wait for a few of those guys to join the session, and then we will kick things off. So we'll just wait about 2 minutes or so. If you want to grab a cup of coffee, now's a good time to do that. Thanks. Okay, I think we've waited long enough. So welcome everybody. It's absolutely great to have you here for this webinar on marketing hotels on Google. We've been very excited to present this material. We believe that there's quite a lot that's been taking place both on Google and the internet as a whole that raises this question around marketing in the Google interface and in the Google environments. Most hotels really do struggle in this environment, and those that have had their handle around this are now facing new environmental changes that are making them question a lot of what they're doing, and are also struggling with the general environment that the hotel marketing space is taking place in. Add to that all the different structures and things that we're taking strain on around COVID, economic environments, international travel restrictions, etc. And all of these things become really big challenges. But before we dive straight into all of that, I do want to share just a little bit about us as a business. And to do that, I just want to play you a very short introductory video about us.
People. What remarkably extraordinary creatures we are. We can feel the full spectrum of emotions in one day. We have the potential to make things beautiful and stand strong for what we believe in. We're passionate, curious about the unknown. We evolve and reinvent ourselves. Driven by the desire to connect, we've built a digital world. The global village brought people closer together than ever before, offering a new environment to do business on. But what does it take to survive in this world? Simply put, you need to understand the person on the other side of the phone, as well as the phone itself, creating a unique middle point where people and technology meet. That's where you'll find DigitLab. Through technology, we find ways to make people's lives better and thrive on challenging what's possible. Coming from different backgrounds, our team brings fresh perspective and dynamic thinking. With us, you get a partner that's just as invested in your success as you are. Sure, you could do things the way you have been, but we've got a feeling that doesn't sit well with you, just like it doesn't sit well with us. So, let's stop calling things impossible and start making history.
So that's just a little bit about us, and we are going to dive right in. I'm going to share this presentation back with you as we go. Our agenda for today is to take a look at our evolving digital landscape, our travel micro moments, it's the SEO for hotels, and how to kind of build out this plan, and that's going to lead us into something called Cornerstone Strategy. We're going to take a look at AI and how this new AI-powered Google is changing things up for the hotel industry. And then I want to take a look at some blue ocean strategy and some new digital opportunities that are taking place. And then we'll break for some Q&A. So there's quite a lot of content that we need to get through. There's quite a lot that we'd like to tackle. So we will be sharing some links to some papers that we've drafted that will give you some deeper information to some of these things. We are also in the process of building out papers into some of these topics in a bit more detail. And so if you'd like more information on any of these, just let us know, and we'll be able to kind of provide you more content as time progresses. So please feel free to use the chat. Feel free to draft questions in the background. Natasha, my chief of staff, is in the background. She'll be able to help with questions. She's looking after the question channel and the chat channel, and we'll be able to help with things as we work through the webinar. One last thing that we would like to let you know about is that we're currently running a survey with the Digital Marketing Conference. This survey is to benchmark the industry, hotel and across various different markets, but the industry as a whole across digital. And so if you want to take a look at this survey itself, we'll drop you a link now in the chat system. But we have been able to, in our partnership with Digital Marketing Conference, secure 40% of tickets for completed surveys on that. So if you want to join us in Cape Town at the Marketing Conference, where we'll present this material and the statistics back from the report, it's going to be a really interesting survey that we put together, where we're really just taking a look at the entire digital breakdown of brands and businesses across the board, not just the content landscape, but the whole digital landscape completely. So if you want to take a look at that, you're more than welcome to. If not, let's carry on. So let's dive in. How is the digital landscape really evolving at the moment, and what is really changing that's shifting the dynamic across the board? And so worldwide, what we see is that the major privacy controls that are taking place, and they're changing the way that we can access the market. So a lot of the tools that we had access to that we were using, to access markets, the media channels that we were using, the third-party data tools that we were using, etc. All of these things are now becoming very limited. Most of you who are sitting in the room right now are probably already starting to feel that your media strategies through things like Google or Facebook and Meta tools, etc., are starting to have a lackluster effect in terms of your ability to generate leads and channel business to you in comparison to what they were doing, say, a year or two ago. And the reason for that is largely based on privacy controls, because we're no longer able to access and use the data as digital marketers because of these privacy controls that we set in place. And it's having a major, major difference. And the primary change that's taking place is the way in which third-party data is being used across marketing channels. The next thing that we're seeing is that artificial intelligence is a massive conversation, obviously, but it will create a bigger competitive strain on content development. And so what we are going to see is more content being created at a much higher volume. We know that this means that it's going to create a bigger strain on marketing departments across the board, and we need to start figuring out what that means. We also know that AI coupled with automation is going to drive a higher demand for data-driven marketing and personalization. And we need to find answers to these things. And then finally, these last 2 points, consumers as a whole are becoming more expectant. And that's been happening for a long time, thanks to digital and the way in which technology has been progressing. Consumers have been more expectant and expecting that we should be able to deliver better. But one of the things that's becoming more interesting in the consumer market space, because of privacy controls, is they're becoming more elusive. So yes, we know that they're bouncing around our platforms, but we don't necessarily know who they are until they're ready to reveal themselves. And so they're understanding how they can move around these platforms. Then finally, these privacy laws are complicated, and they have jurisdictional variations. And what we mean by that is, and this is really meaningful in the hotel and tourism space, is that your variations will mean different things based on where and who you are marketing to. And so you will come under different legal responsibilities in different places. And so we have to be able to figure out how and where you're going to be able to work in those environments. So it's been an interesting space. Now, what we really love about Google is that they've brought in this really beautiful framework around micro moments. Now, micro moments has been something that Google's had around for a long time. They brought it in from a micro moments SEO and advertising space. They've had it for a long time. Then they applied it into the travel moments and environment and the travel customer journey. And it worked really, really beautifully to really speak to the travel customer journey. They speak about the I want to get away moments, the time to plan moments, the let's book it moments, the can't wait to explore moments, and everything leading up to actually being at the hotel, at the lodge, wherever it is that you're selling at this point. And essentially what we needed to do is have these dreaming moments, these planning moments, these booking moments, and these experiencing moments. Now, as we've unpacked this with the industry over the last sort of 10 to 12 years, what we've really found and what we've seen as we've unpacked this alongside other products and services, we've really found that there's a really nice synergy. So we're also HubSpot partners, and so we see that there's this really beautiful synergy that sits alongside awareness, consideration, purchase, and customer advocacy. And because there's this synergy across these two channels, there's this really nice journey that starts to come into play, where we can now start to understand what we're asking for customers across this journey. We want to inspire people. We want to help people. We want to streamline that purchase process, and we want to create experience and empower influence at those experiences. Now, what's happening so often right now is that in this hotel journey, customer journey space, what we see is that people are so focused on awareness and on purchase. And in fact, if you were to ask them where they're spending the majority of their budget, they will tell you purchase. The let's book it moment is where the majority of the spend, sometimes 80 to 90% of the spend, is spent in that purchase and streamline phase. And the majority of the spend is not spent in streamlining the process. The majority of the spend is actually spent in just reducing the cost to the customer, not in reducing the drag on the purchase experience for the customer, not making it more convenient, making it a cheaper experience. And so what we're actually doing is increasing our cost of delivery, not decreasing the the drag for the customer. And so what's happening and what we're seeing happening in this industry is that there seems to be this fear to actually adopt the right mentality around this journey that's taking place. And this need to be able to adopt the entire journey as we walk through this process to really tackle this customer at the awareness, consideration, purchase, and advocacy space. Because if we were to tackle this at all of these angles, we would really be able to adopt something really powerful with these customers. And so we really want to be able to use Google and all the platforms that we have available to be able to drive awareness and inspire those getaway moments, to help people in their consideration process, to make those plans, and to really streamline those booking processes and drive advocacy, create and empower these moments. Now, what we did is we had an opportunity to obviously scan all the different people that were attending this event. And so what I did is I just took a look at the countries that you were from, and I just brought out a couple of top line statistics. We will share this information at the end, and you will have access to these videos so you can look at these in more detail. But what I wanted to do is just share a couple of key highlights. So if I take a look at South Africa, at the South African market right now, since the pandemic, we've seen growth in this market, but it's still very sluggish, and it's very much below pre-pandemic lines. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about now, is how it's grown since pandemic. It's still very much below the pre-pandemic environments. The international growth is incredibly slow. It is still coming from its previous favorites. So the majority of the interest that's coming from Google and search traffic on Google is still coming from the UK, the US, and Germany, which has always been the tourism favorites for South Africa. There is growth, but it's not back yet. So it's seeing sort of 15% growth, but it's just not there. Year on year, this market sees its sluggish period in May to August, and local is lacquer. 93% of this audience is of the search traffic around this, and the search interest is coming from local audiences. And this is creating a really difficult industry demand, because the market that previously serviced the international market is now competing for the local market. It's creating an incredibly difficult local market to be in, and the majority of that market is responding to that competitive market environment by engaging in price wars. So the UK is probably one of the most interesting for me right now. And so the UK market, since pandemic, hasn't quite got to a point where it's at like pre-pandemic era levels. But what it is it's a global favorite. So it's a top 5 global favorite destination right now. London is the biggest and highest demand city from an accommodation perspective worldwide. So the city itself is the top destination interest point of view, and the country itself is a top 5 destination. So it's really interesting to see that the volume of interest for the UK now is just so powerful. It's not quite there. It's still about 30% lower than what its pre-COVID levels were, but it's still a really powerful space to be in. You've got a very small sluggish period between mid-November and December, and you've got a relatively strong domestic market sitting at 85% of your search audience. What I found quite interesting is that of the 15% of your international market, 4% comes from America, but the rest is scattered in sort of these 1% batches across Europe, Asia, Australia, and Canada. And so you have this breadth of international markets, which can make spreading those budgets and being able to kind of target these areas really, really difficult as a marketer in those spaces. Portugal, a couple of Portuguese businesses are out in our area right now. And so taking a look at this is really interesting. So this market has pretty much bounced back. It bounced back the year after COVID took place. It's a really fantastic holiday destination, especially for Europeans. And it bounced back almost immediately in the year later. It has continued to stay steady from that perspective. And so its pre-COVID levels are kind of there. And so it's looking like it's going to eclipse its pre-COVID levels now in 2023 if it carries on its current trend. Its sluggish period is October right the way through to March. Its big hit, it's got this massive isolated peak that happens year on year. It's an anomaly that happens in July and August because of that massive holiday period. Its big international audience is Canada. Its biggest growth markets right now are Canada, America, UK, and Italy. And Germany's interest has grown the most, is also growing by about 10 to 25%. Really, really powerful statistics there. And then we've got some Irish in the room as well. And so looking at this market, what was probably the most interesting for me here is that the US and Germany are the big growth markets as search interest grows here by 75% in the last year. The UK is 48% of the international search that's taking place around Ireland and continues to grow by 20 to 50% year on year. International market search interest seems to be growing on a continual basis by 50 to 75%. So this Irish sort of inbound market is a really big growth opportunity right now. The domestic continues to take up about 71% of the market, and so I think what we're going to see is quite a nice shift and towards balancing those scales, international versus local, in Ireland, and it's going to be a really interesting space to see over the next few months. Sluggish period between August and December, year on year, it's a continual trend, as is the majority of the markets that we've been taking to look at. Growth is nearly back to normal. There's a trend at the moment that looks like 2023 looks normal, but it's normal in some months, and then in other months it drops quite below. So it's still too erratic to be able to kind of say, from a trend perspective, it looks like it's going to be normal. It could get to the space where 2023 looks worse. So Nothing really to be able to pin against to say, yes, it's going to be better, but something we can look at. So let's dive into some SEO. Feel free to bounce any of those chats through. If you like what you're seeing, if there's any questions, use the emojis, fire away. Let me know that you're there and you haven't fallen asleep. So the SEO for hotels. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to regurgitate to you the last 20 years worth of everyday SEO stuff. What I am going to say is technical SEO is deadline important. It's the content baseline that you should be having. I'm not going to get into a conversation around how important that is. I am going to say to you it's at least 50% of the conversation that you should be having, and your technical SEO needs to be good. I'm not going to get into a conversation with you right now about how your language, href language tags should be in place, and how your different languages should be set up. That is a definite yes, and it should be dealt with. It should be dealt with well, and it should be technically optimized. However, that conversation is detailed, it's technical, it's not what I'm here for today. I am telling you that your technical SEO should be in place, it should be dealt with, it should be above board. It is an easy conversation to work out if it is, because there's tools that are very advanced nowadays that can track this and manage this for you, and it will tell you if you're in play or not. And if you've got a decent technical SEO company that can look after this, you're in good shape. The biggest gap that we see across the board, both in the tourism industry and in other industries, but the biggest gap that we see is in content and the way in which people manage content. And so from an SEO perspective, it's technical optimization and UX, etc., content creation and backlink generation. Now, content generation is one conversation. And the problem with content generation is people become too SEO focused in the way in which they generate content. The problem with backlinking is people tend to then get into a buying game of backlinking. Now, the problem with buying games of backlinking is it becomes very dangerous, and it's not really as effective as we would like, and it's very expensive. So we want to introduce, if this isn't new to you, we want to kind of introduce it to you. If it is new, we want to expand on this idea for you. This theory of cornerstone strategy. I want to give you an idea. If you were wanting to rank for a broad term around backpacking through Europe, you would build a single page on your website called Backpacking in Europe. And then you would build some supporting pages that link to this core page. Backpacking tips, essential backpacking gear, budget travel tips for Europe. These sub pages would link back to backpacking in Europe. These sub pages and this cornerstone page in the middle there, that page primarily is the page that you want to primarily rank for. The sub pages are there to support it. These are web pages. They can be blog pages. They can be detailed content pages. They are generally not product pages. They are not landing pages for your e-commerce site. They are informative pages about things, generally. And your blogs then become more detailed, refined, specific niche articles that talk about the different things that happen in both your core landing page as well as your supporting landing pages. Now, the big trick here, and I've given you about 4 or 5 examples of what those titles of those articles, and you'll see that those articles refer to those supporting pages, but they don't necessarily, they have freedom to be able to explore new topics. They have freedom to be able to go into various different directions, but all of them speak to the same thing. The key is that the words that we want to rank for are internally linked back to the core pages and back to the cornerstone page. The cornerstone page will always have Backpack Europe as the key internal link. If we don't get this piece right, then you lose the SEO structure. Your internal linking infrastructure needs to be succinct, simple, and straightforward. You need to be able to have a cornerstone content strategy that says you want to rank for these 10 or 20 high value keywords with cornerstones that you really believe in. And these high value keywords are where you're going to stand, and you're going to build your content around that. By default, you're going to build search engine ranking for a multitude of other terms that surround that. But the ones that you really want to rank well for need to be built into these cornerstone strategies, because there is too high a competitive level these days to be able to rank high for absolutely everything. And we need to be able to build these cornerstones. If we don't build these cornerstones out in our sites, we're not going to create the valuable, relevant content that Google wants to see. Internal content structures tell Google that we are well structured as an infrastructure, as a website, to be as a website to say, this is what we're about, and we're about this. And then off the back of that, we can then sell our product at the end of the day. These site infrastructures we've successfully been able to use to be able to take sites that are struggling with SEO, that are doing the right backlinking, the right backlinking kind of purchase of sites and things, backlinks, the right technical SEO. They're even creating content, shed tons of content on a monthly basis. But just by firstly dropping backlink sales, purchasing, and just by developing internal content structures, we've been able to improve SEO strategy and SEO traction and visibility. And so these internal linking infrastructures are so powerful when you look at the cornerstone strategy. And the other reason that I love this cornerstone strategy concept is that cornerstone strategy is, yes, it's an SEO concept, but it also has a way to be able to generate inbound links. Because if you adopt cornerstone strategy as a broader digital strategy, you build in the cornerstone strategy as part of your content strategy and SEO, your influencer strategy, your PR strategy, and these themes and these thoughts and these processes start to infiltrate and permeate through your marketing strategy. And so PR starts to develop inbound links, organic backlinks back into your Backpack Europe pages and into your supporting sub pages. Your influencers start creating content and blog articles that link back to the correct pages. Your social media content starts to support that. All the content that you're producing externally in seemingly sort of siloed spaces where SEO normally sits in its own space, all of this content now supports your SEO infrastructure. And the piece that I really want people to understand is that SEO is this infrastructure that should permeate the entire digital ecosystem, not sit as an isolated silo where we develop blog posts that are SEO optimized, that attract traffic. And then once we've attracted that traffic, we're going to push them to our booking engine. That strategy, while you can measure it like that, is not the most effective way to be able to drive SEO. You can still achieve that mechanism, but if you apply the cornerstone strategy, firstly, you'll get better traction on your SEO in that channel strategy, but you will permeate the SEO right the way through the business, and you will develop a much stronger content strategy that will build out your digital strategy as a whole and support all of your content right across the board to develop something way stronger, and develop something that Google will really build and will really understand and build its relevance inside its index. And that's what we're looking for. Google ranks relevant content. That's what we want to build. I'm going to just jump back to this slide for 2 seconds, and then I'll switch to the other one. I'm going to let I'm going to watch the chat and the question section to see if there's anything up at this point, and then I'm going to move on to AI-powered Google. Okay, we're all good. Right. So let's get into AI-powered Google. Now, I am going to ask Natasha just to share a link here to a paper, a resource that we've developed around AI and Google. This paper will deal with some of the aspects of what we're talking about, not all of them, but some of them. And what I'm going to focus on here are some of the tool sets specifically in the hotel industry that are laying the foundation for a lot of what Google is doing and will be doing in the hotel industry. We've been talking to and working with our partners in the Google Hotel section inside Google, and they've been feeding back to us and helping us put together this particular section in the business. Thanks, Tash. And so, really hope that this will be good and interesting. And what I've also tried to do is try and create as holistic a view. So if this is all new to you, it should help you see the whole picture. If some of this is new to you, you should understand how it all fits together. So I borrowed this resource from this picture from DH Hospitality Solutions online. I think they've done a really good job here of kind of just holding where everything sits. So in the top section here, you can see where they've highlighted Google Ads. So that's your normal search ad section for Google Ads. To the right side, you're seeing the familiar hotel listing, and that's your hotel ads section. Now, when you check availability and you get the opportunity to be able to select the date section, we're now talking about Google Hotels as a product. Google Hotels as a product is a tool set that allows Google to be able to see booking information around the hotels, around the hotel itself, and be able to tell the customer of Google whether you have, as a hotel, space available for that hotel. Now, for that customer to be able to use. So they will put in the dates there, and they'll see whether you have space and what rates they're available. Google Hotels as a whole can then kick out, and Google can then provide dates, and then you can put your dates in, and Google can say, these are the hotels that are available with these prices in this particular city that you're looking at. And so everything that sits on top of this line are paid links. So this is Google Hotels advertising. And everything underneath here is called free links. So the piece that I want to share with you first is free links. So way back in 2016, Google released what they call free booking links. So for the first time, they allowed, and via API through a lot of the booking engines, they allowed hotels to place their booking links into these Google Hotels. So you could take your booking engine like Knightsbridge, and they could integrate a free booking link into Google Hotels. And this booking link would give you an organic ranking, much the same way as, say, SEO gets you into the organic ranking here. This free booking link would get you into the organic ranking on Google Hotels. If you were the main hotel, it would then say you're the official website. So that's great, because it would normally push you to the top here, and you would be the organic ranking here. The challenge is that if anyone was bidding on that keyword, you would get pushed down, much the same way that would work in the top here. And most of the click-through, like in ads, most of the click-through takes place here. So having this link here, although it's useful, it disappears if you're sitting in a very competitive space, especially in the OTA game, which most of us are sitting in from an OTA perspective. So enter the next solution, which is paid Google Hotel solutions. Now, this is then the Google Hotels product. What's really nice about Google Hotels is it stretches across the search spectrum. So we showed you previously where it sits in search, but Google Hotels is available one in search. It's also available through Maps, through Google Assistant, and it will be available in pretty much any Google product that it can find that someone might search for a hotel. And essentially it builds the Google Hotel search product into anywhere where there's interest in hotels. This Google Hotel product is a paid service by hotels or by OTAs to Google. It usually works on a commission structure, and there are two sort of main caveats that's come with it. The one is that you need a fairly sizable spend, and the other is that you need to be able to develop a booking pipeline. That booking pipeline is a code base that needs to be able to be submitted into Google's hotel engine, and then they use that booking pipeline from your booking engine into that pipeline, and they take it from there. These two kind of caveats have been the main reason why companies like Booking.com and TripAdvisor, etc., have kind of owned the space because of the cost of being able to develop that and make that happen. One of the biggest challenges for being able to democratize this service has been the cost of that infrastructure. And so if you're a larger enterprise or a group, you could sometimes go directly to Google and make this available. If you were an OTA and you could consolidate all of this group, you could make that happen as well. Google has since started working with smaller partners on the agency side, like ourselves, and started to make these available in a partnership, a pilot program partnership at the moment, where they can work with hotels that are smaller than these big enterprises and don't want to lean solely into the OTA partnerships. And so in those cases, there are particular hotels that might qualify for these programs. And so you can get involved in these programs. So if you want to find out if you qualify for that, just let us know, and we can take you through the process. But the Google Hotel product is really important. Why it's important is because once your booking data is in the system, you're now putting your whole hotel information base sit inside Google. And that hotel information base is really important because from an AI perspective, we now start to see a new product developing. Before I step into that product, the user base from a Google Hotels perspective is that you would create these Google Hotel campaigns. The user clicks on the ad, they make a booking on your website. The person comes through to come stay at your hotel, and then Google then charges you a commissionable rate. And that's the kind of structure that they use in Google Hotels. That's Booking.com, TripAdvisor, all of these guys use Google Hotels to get people to your hotels. They're just charging you different commissionable structures. And so it's one of their tools that they use to get people to you. So it's a way to be able to kind of bypass that and get you straight to your door. Here's the AI tool I've been telling you about. Now, some of you are already using PMax. I know that because you've spoken to me about it. PMax is a tool that allows you to be able to buy Google advertising. So if you're using search as an example, you can buy not just search, but all of the products at once and buy Google advertising, and then allow Google to decide for you where you should be based on the customer that you're wanting to tackle and get in front of. So if you look at all of their products, search to display, YouTube, discover, mail, and maps, all of these products would all be available through PMax. Now, the interesting thing is that PMax has been available for some time, and it's been doing quite well, and some hotels are already exploring PMax. But PMax for travel goals takes this a step further. So Performance Max normally, as an AI tool, deals with these two main functions: AI-powered ad placement and bidding. So the AI itself makes the decisions, and then improved traffic and sales. And so it does these first two things. But in the hotel industry, Performance Max for travel goals does a few extra other pieces, does those top two things. But now what it's going to do is it's going to start pushing you up in search for property-related queries. It's also going to enhance travel-specific audience signals. And so we said that it's going to do that. It's coming later in this year, in 2023. It's a product development cycle. And it's also going to do expanded ad reach through hotel ads. So it's going to use the hotel ad information that it's been driving, and it's going to use that information to augment and to as part of its information learning cycle from an AI perspective to be able to build out your ad reach. And so it's going to use that data to be able to build out your audiences better. And so that's going to happen there. And then the other thing that it's going to do, well, that it does at the moment, is that it allows you to build up your reporting to over 100 properties, or up to 100 properties, sorry. And you will also be able to pre-populate all of that content with imagery and copy, whereas at the moment, PMax without travel goals is quite limited in terms of what content you can put in. So travel goals is a really powerful PMax alternative. And it's the only time that we're actually seeing Google provide any industry-specific AI alternative. So that's the first time Google's doing this. They're doing it specifically for your industry. It's a really powerful permutation of an AI tool. It's really interesting to see what they're doing. So really, really cool. So if you're working in PMax already, PMax travel goals is the next thing that you should be looking into. If you're not anywhere and you don't have free links, you should be talking to your booking engine supplier and talking about and looking into free links. If you have free links but you're not on Google Hotels, that's your next step. Google Hotels and PMax. If you're in Google Hotels, PMax can be your next step. But PMax for travel goals is definitely something you should be looking at. We're looking at sort of 6-week cycles. It's a really big opportunity. And then I want to use some time now to be able to speak to some blue ocean. So there's a book written about 10 years ago called Blue Ocean Strategy. And it spoke to this wonderful concept. It's a bit of a gory idea, but it spoke about red oceans and blue oceans. Red oceans were oceans that had too many fish and sharks in the sea. And so the sharks would wander around and eat all the fish, and there weren't enough fish, and it was too stocked, too heavy, and there's just too much blood in the ocean. And because of that, people get hurt. Everyone's fighting for each other. You end up with a lot of thin sharks. You end up with people dying, with fish dying, with sharks dying. Sharks are fighting with each other. Everybody is generally thin, and there are not enough fish. No one's happy. No one's healthy. No one's thriving, and the water's red, which is not its natural state. And this is what a competitive environment looks like. This is what an environment looks like when everybody's doing the same thing to compete in the same environment. Now, right at the beginning of this, I gave you that user journey thing, and the hotel industry for me is one of those where we're all hammering the same thing, all doing OTAs, all hammering the lead gen cycle off the back, all doing that one piece, maybe two pieces, but we're all doing the same strategies. Blue ocean is something that we need to be looking at as an industry. We need to be engaging in the AI tools that Google's bringing to the table. We need to be looking at the new opportunities that take place. We need to be doing it mindfully and smartly, but we need to be engaging in different things because we need to find the blue ocean. What is the blue ocean? Well, the blue ocean is a space where you find these vast, big blue oceans with lots of fish, but not many sharks. And there's these large blue whales wandering around, and they're eating all the fish that they can have, but everybody's full, but nobody's hungry. And there's plenty to go around, and nobody's worried about it. And we're all happy, and nobody's trying to kill each other. And everybody's fit and healthy. And so we want to find these blue oceans. We want to find the opportunities to be able to build our businesses in healthy spaces. And so where are these? Where are these new customers? Where are these new opportunities? Where are these new channels? Where are these new opportunities that exist? And so Blue Ocean Strategy, if you haven't read it, is a really cool book to read. And I just wanted to point to one or two opportunities that I think are on the table for marketers in the hotel space. And so the one comes out of a really unique space for me, and that is also in advertising, but out of a very strange corner, and that is Snapchat. So Snapchat for me has always been this weird wild card, and I remember having a conversation around Snapchat, and I'd written it off personally, and I've since had a couple of conversations with people at Snapchat and listened to the statistics, and had some very strong conversations with them from a global perspective, as well as from a local perspective here in South Africa. And I've found some really interesting moves. So there's a lot of global data that supports this, and the global data is really interesting. I can give one of the points. In Ireland, it's very male dominated as an audience in comparison to South African stats that I'm showing you here. But Snapchat is a really interesting platform. One, it engages people completely different to any other social media channel. But the thing that people don't realize, especially in South Africa, is that Snapchat is bigger than Instagram. It's a bigger platform, and it has a better addressable audience than, say, Meta does on an Instagram platform perspective. It has the opportunity to be able to drive leads and create that engagement, but it also has people logging in more often than they do, say, to Instagram accounts on a daily basis. The audience in South Africa is predominantly skewed towards females, to that near 80% point, because people use it primarily as their camera app, as filters. And they use those filters to be able to dream. In other words, where could I be? How can I alter the situation that I'm in, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if we go back to our roles as marketers is to inspire travel, inspire new experiences, inspire all of these things, we can immediately start to see the opportunities to be able to create new experiences and new opportunities. And so if we could find ways to maybe utilize a Blue Ocean platform like this, maybe there's an opportunity for us here to be able to find some new opportunities. And I'm using Snapchat here, but I'm saying, what about these other platforms that nobody else is thinking about? Everyone's raging about TikTok. It's one of the most brand competitive platforms on the planet. It's a red ocean already, and it's an expensive red ocean. And so where could we pocket ourselves in different spaces? So how do we think differently? And so I think that there's something here that could really be looked at. I think other networks, other opportunities could be explored. So Snapchat, I think, is a potential blue ocean. I never did think that. About a year ago, if you'd spoken to me about Snapchat, I would have said, you're smoking your socks, run away. But now I think there's something here. And then what I'm going to share with you here are a couple of slides that I pulled directly off another webinar that I do called Developing Data-Driven Strategy. I'm just going to share with you 3 or 4 slides off the back of this. I am going to caveat this with a disclaimer to say that we are a HubSpot partner. So this gets HubSpot kind of heavy in a sense, but at the same time, my point is this, is that if you're going to succeed based on all of those things that I spoke to you about at the beginning, around how the digital landscape's evolving, it's a data strategy conversation. And so one of the biggest blue ocean opportunities that I see is that hotels need to shift from being third-party driven, i.e. reliant on the data that advertising agencies bring to them, on the data that OTAs bring to them, on the data that tour operators bring to them, on everybody else's data and what they bring to them, and then saying, okay, cool, could you then like bring all of these different channels? But rather start to become more reliant on their own data and how they capture that data and bring that data to the play so that they can influence their own future. And so how do we do that? How do we build our own data-driven strategies? And so CRM helps us do this. And so CRM brings a whole pile of different things to the table, like privacy design and bringing a centralized customer system to the table and automation platforms, etc. But what I like is that it brings an opportunity to engage a user journey. So the user journey is all about attracting people, engaging people, and delighting people. Now, if you're smart, you can already see how this ties in through those purchase stages. But if you bring in that idea of automation that we spoke to in 2 slides ago, and that I've spoken to in other spaces, automation has also popped into the AI space with how we've spoken about PMax and a couple of the other tools that we've spoken about before. But when you bring automation in, you can see that none of the other tools, your ad spend, your social media, your SEO, none of them bring automation to play. So you spend the same amount and you get the same back month on month. But automation allows you to spend something and build something. Spend something, build something, and add to it. Spend something next month and add to it. Spend something next month and add to it. And so you actually now start to get scalable marketing infrastructure in your space. So you get a much higher return on the spend. So what does this end up looking like in your user journey as we resolve back to your last slide, to our first slide? In SEO, you can start to now build out your planning moment. So you meet the planner as they inside Google looking for ways in which to plan and content to plan their world. So you create planning content that helps the planner plan their trips, plan their hotel stays. And then in the book it moments, you use things like Google free links, branded SEO content to be able to inspire, to be able to capture the people in the inspired campaigns. Because one of the things that we know is that in social media tools and in all of these campaign things where we inspire campaigns, they generally don't click there. They are inspired in those channels, those discovery channels. But then when they actually go to book, they tend to do that drive through Google. And so we want to have our branded SEO tight so that we can actually then capture that branded SEO search and pull them in from those inspired campaigns. The cornerstone content drives inspirational PR, social and PR content to drive those dreaming moments through all of those different channels. It then builds topical content to attract planners to the website. And it creates blog content and that gives customers material that they can both go in and explore, that gets them excited about their stays, but also that they can share so that they become advocates of their stays with us. And then the Google AI space, we can use advertised display content to inspire future travelers, Google My Business and free links to be able to help with the planning phases, PMax for travel goals, and Google Hotels for the booking moments. And you can also, if you want, be able to kind of build out very bespoke remarketing and display campaigns into the wait and explore, the experience moments. Snapchat would sit firmly inside the dream experiences with things like filter campaigns and inspirational moments. And your CRM would sort of sit throughout this whole process doing different things. So building inspirational content to serve as a lead anchor to draw people in and capture data, to find leads or to capture the new data about those people. Your planning moments would be around using those planning moments to create and nurture those leads, step them towards the different goals and move them to the different moments. your booking moments become around intent markers. So what we want to be able to do is capture the person before they make the booking, see the intent, and then nurture them towards that intent in smart ways with our various sales teams and sales mechanics. And then in the can't wait to explore moments, we want to use automated triggers, automated content schemes, automated opportunities through ad engines, mails, social channels, and messaging tools to be able to excite, inspire, advocate our customers so that they can both be inspired, actioned, and I'm losing the word, but to be able to help them share, enable the ability for them to be able to share their content with the rest of the world. And so on that note, I want to thank you so much for attending. We're done. If there are any questions, we have run out of a bit of time. So if you're flying to somewhere else, please thank you so much for attending. If you do have any questions, you're welcome to post them into the chat or into the question section. Or if you want to drop me a line after the session, you know how to contact us. But thank you so much for your time. I know that time is precious. We really do appreciate that. And we hope that it's been a valuable session. Thank you very much. Thanks, Anna. Appreciate it. And Linda, appreciate the comments.